Hello and welcome back everybody to an all new episode of Stefan's Kitchen. This week we are going to make the difficulty, I guess we're going to turn up just a little bit. And again, we're continuing on with the Asian cuisine. So let's get right into it. Let's cook beef lo mein. Now, the very first thing we're going to start with, obviously, is a piece of meat. As you can see, I got it in the reduced section because I just wanted to grab something quick and easy. It's a piece of top sirloin, and you only need about a pound of meat, not too much for when you're making lo mein. And sirloin's a really nice cut anyways. It's really tender. Just got to make sure you remove, if there's anything like this, a string keeping it together like that, make sure that you remove that because you obviously don't want to have that cooked into your meal. You'll probably hitch it anyways while you're cutting the meat itself. So as you can see here, a lot of people prefer to have it cut into longer strips, and well, obviously not that long, usually about a quarter or so of this length. But what I prefer to do is I cut it off in strips like this first, then I cut it into much smaller pieces, so that way it can fry together a little bit more. And what we're going to do next is we're actually going to take this beef and we're going to mix it in with a marinade so that the beef can take in some flavors and add some extra flavor to the lo mein itself. Once you have all the meat cut down into smaller bite-sized pieces, again, you can leave it in strips if you really want to. Just throw them all into the bowl and get your ingredients together and ready for the marinade. Now, the marinade that we're going to be making is going to be pretty easy. It's going to be a tablespoon and a half of soy sauce. And just sprinkle that right in on top of your beef. Like I said, really simple, just 2 ingredients. And once you have your soy sauce added in, you don't even have to worry about stirring it because soy sauce is pretty runny as it is anyways. Next, you're going to add in 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And this way, it'll help keep the meat dry on the outside, so that way it will mix in better. And once you add in the 2 teaspoons, just stir it together so it looks more or less like that. Okay, so once you let that marinate for about 30 minutes, we'll be putting together our sauce for the mixture, which will consist of 2.5 tablespoons of oyster sauce, as you can see here. Don't know if you've seen it the first time. But yeah, just add it directly into your bowl. Next, we'll be adding 2.5 teaspoons of dark soy sauce. Now again, you can use regular soy sauce as well. It works just as fine. The flavor isn't that much different. It's just, again, I was just one of those people that I've seen extra soy sauces there, and I picked them up. I also have a mushroom soy sauce, but any kind of soy sauce will work here. And next, in order to add a little bit of sweetness to the sauce, we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of just regular white sugar. And at the very end, you can add in some beef broth. I like to use around 4 or 5 tablespoons, about a quarter of a cup probably would be fine, as you can see here. Now, with your meat marinating and your sauce made into the side, this is the time you can go and take whatever kind of noodles you prefer. Egg noodles, even spaghetti, linguine, fettuccine, any kind of pasta, long pasta is really good for making lo mein. So while this is boiling, you can also grate up 2 carrots and a half of a quarter of a head of cabbage in order to add to the stir fry a little bit later. Now, to your drained noodles, you're going to want to add in some sesame oil. Now, some oils are stronger than others. This is a sesame oil blend, which is pretty common in most markets in the bigger bottles. It costs about the same amount as the smaller bottles, but the thing with the smaller bottles is that it's, I guess, more or less pure sesame oil as opposed to a blend like this one is, which means you can add a little bit more of the blend, whereas with the pure sesame oil will add so much more flavor. And not only that, the flavor is always much better, I find. So always opt to get the better sesame oil for something such as this. Believe me, it's worth your time. And remember, try not to break up your noodles. Don't stir them too much. Even a fork is probably not the best thing to use. A wooden spoon or something is probably your best thing for mixing. But once everything is thoroughly mixed, we're going to start frying up the meat. So what you're going to want to do is set your pan on the stove, put 2 tablespoons of oil in it, and let that oil get hot. Now the meat that's been marinated for a half an hour, you can add directly to the pan as soon as that oil is hot. Now remember, you only want to cook this meat until it actually changes color. That's why you have the high heat on there. You just want to change color, and you want it to be almost cooked all the way through. The reason for this is that it'll cook a little bit more once you mix it in with the noodles a little bit later on. And also, the best thing about beef is that you can't get food poisoning from eating beef unless it's actually been left out in the warm and gone bad or green, I guess, over a long period of time. So I mean, a lot of people are afraid of blood from beef and eating raw meat, but by all means, it's safer for you than any pink chicken. Put it that way. You can eat raw meat and you pretty much won't get anything bad from it. So don't be too afraid if there's a little bit of pink or if there's a little bit of juices flowing from the meat. That's perfectly fine. Not only that, it'll add flavor to your meal, and all that. I guess all the pink that you see, all that will cook right out, like I said, while you're cooking it with the noodles. Now next, you're going to want to get your pan nice and hot and add your oil to it again, about 2 tablespoons of oil. And once it's hot, you're going to add in the garlic. Again, this is the minced garlic, so it will start to spit and spatter around. So again, you're going to want to, I guess, break it up as quickly as possible. And as you can see here, it's not doing too bad. If the hotter your pan is, the more it's going to spit up, to be quite honest with you. So, you know, my pan here isn't extremely hot because I do find that garlic tends to burn fairly quickly, especially if it's the minced garlic that you buy at the store. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the carrot and cabbage, and you can actually add in a shredded onion as well if you'd like the extra added flavor to that, which is probably not a bad thing to consider sometime. And to be quite honest, it's been a while since I actually did this video. There might actually be grated onion in there, so I will add that to the recipe list and the grocery list for you guys who want to take that down at the beginning. Most people do have onions at home most times. Any big pieces of cabbage that you see, take them out. No one wants to bite into a big ugly piece of cabbage, you know, because usually those big pieces that don't really grate up are much more bitter in the thicker areas. That's why cabbage is much better once it's been cooked and boiled through. Now, once the vegetables have been cooked down really nicely and everything's starting to smell really good, this is about the time you're going to want to add in your lo mein noodles. So, now that they've been stirred up with the sesame oil, they're still going to be nice and fragrant. When you add them to the pan, they're going to smell even better, and they might even crisp up if you, if you let it cook a little bit longer than usual. It all depends on how you actually like your noodles. If you like them crispy, let them cook a little bit longer. Just keep remembering to stir. You could even add in probably a little bit more oil, along with a little bit of sesame oil as well. Both will help let it fry and add to the flavor as well. I'm just saying as well a little bit too much today, aren't I? Anyway, once you have everything added in there, just grab your spoon, start mixing it up. Now again, you don't want to break up your noodles too much. What you want to do is almost lift from the bottom through your noodles so that the vegetables actually mix through, because there's still a lot of that really nice flavor from those vegetables and the garlic itself. And eventually we're going to be adding in a sauce, so you want to get as much of the combined flavors in there as, as much as you can. Now, once you've let the noodles cook for about 7 or 8 minutes and everything looks fairly nice and combined, you're going to take that sauce that we made earlier and give it a stir to make sure everything's combined, because you don't want it to be all stuck into the bottom. Here we go, that looks perfect. And the best thing is that beef broth, once you mix it around a bit, the beef broth actually helps keep it from settling onto the bottom, which is really nice for this sauce. So once you get all of it scraped down and into your noodles, you're going to want to, like as you can see there, I made a nice circle around the pasta so that way it's not all going in one spot and just, one concentration of noodles is getting the sauce while the rest is getting nothing at all. Continue to stir around your noodles and your sauce until you make sure everything's nice and combined. Your noodles will change from the yellowish color that they were into a really nice brownish color. At this time, add in your meats, and that way the extra cooking time can be used to actually help cook that meat for any of you people who still feel a little bit squeamish about the pinker pieces of meat. Now, as I keep saying, remember to, slowly stir up your noodles. You don't want to break up your noodles too much. You want to keep them intact as much as you can, and just, stir that meat around so that it's, dispersed within the noodles evenly as much as possible. Now, at this point, the lo mein is pretty much ready to be taken right off the burner and served. Now, if you want to, you can let it crisp up a little bit more, or you can just leave it as is, al dente. But other than that, it's pretty much good to go. This is in my opinion, this is a fairly, you know, healthy, easy recipe. It doesn't take too long to make. It's always delicious. Everyone always enjoys it. It also works with pork. It works with chicken, shrimp, any kind of meat that you can think of. And like I said, I've yet to see a time that it failed. So as always, guys, thank you, and girls, thank you very much for watching. I hope you go out and try this, and by all means, leave me a video response. Tell people about this if you know anyone who is having any troubles at home, thinking of new or interesting meals. By all means, send them towards this page, and also feel free to leave me comments down at the bottom of anything that you suggest that I should make, or any challenges maybe that you'd like for me to make, something new or something different or something that you don't think I would be able to. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.